Hey guys, it's Jeff. Nowadays, web creators have a lot of different ways they can monetize their website or their blog. Some of these methods can lead to outbound links, and if those things are overdone or not annotated correctly, they could accidentally violate Google's quality guidelines. In this video, we're going to break down exactly what those guidelines are and how you as a publisher can make sure you're not getting in trouble when you're taking advantage of opportunities to work with affiliates or do things like sponsored content. So without further delay, let's unbox it. So before we break this down, let's talk a little bit about how this is supposed to work. If you run something like a display ad on a popular website, say Forbes.com, there are certain tagging standards that happen when that website links to your website that tells Google that that link is not an endorsement of your company or something that defines a relationship between Forbes.com and your website. The way that's done typically is through a rel attribute that is put on the link that tells Google not to follow the link or pass along SEO authority to that website that the link points to. This can create a problem. If a publisher isn't doing this process properly, it opens the door for black hat SEOs to use things like display ads or sponsored content to actually seed valid inbound links to their website. This tactic is abusive and against quality guidelines from Google. Nevertheless, it still happens, and the onus is on the publisher to make sure that these types of code elements are marked up correctly to inform Google that this isn't a link that should pass authority to that website. Let's take a look at some examples that show you how you're supposed to do this when you're outbound linking to a sponsored content opportunity or for something like a display ad. So in this example here, we see the code for an outbound link from a website where this was an advertisement. In this case, the publisher does not want to pass SEO authority to this website. When they set up this link, you'll see here that there's a rel attribute for the anchor tag that tells Google not to follow the link. When this value is present, Google does not associate your site or crawl the link to this new website. So if you're a company that has any type of sponsorship opportunity on your website, you are the one that is supposed to be configuring this properly. Google recently released a blog where they went over a number of different use cases where this could be a problem. Let's take a look at some of those examples to make sure you're making your website do all the things that Google wants it to do when you're doing outbound linking on sponsored content opportunities. So one way that this can go wrong is with affiliate links. Affiliate links on pages such as product reviews or shopping guides are a common way for blogs and publishers to monetize their traffic. In general, historically, we used things like rel equals nofollow attributes to flag these links to Google. Google has recently started recognizing a new value for this rel attribute called sponsored. This is the way that Google is now recommending that publishers flag and mark different links from their advertisements or other paid placements so that Google knows that they shouldn't be following these links or counting them as a signal of SEO authority. Another common way that sites can monetize is by accepting sponsored or guest posts from other sites. Google in this example reiterates the same feedback that they do for affiliate links. As publishers, we should now be using the rel equals sponsored flag to indicate that these are paid or sponsored links on your website. If you're doing a lot of outbound linking from your website, then you really want to understand how this rel attribute is used across all of the links on your web property. Let's take a look at all of the examples you can set for this value and how you should be using this on your website. Like we just talked about, one of the values can be set to sponsored. This marks links that are explicitly from advertisements or paid placements. There is also a value, UGC, that corresponds to user-generated content. It's appropriate to use this type of markup if you have things like comments on your website that can be used to point links to other properties. Finally, we also have the nofollow value. This is traditionally the value we would use for all outbound links where we don't want to associate our website to the page that we're linking to. You can still use this value, but using sponsored and UGC is a more specific and better way to flag outbound links from paid advertisements or user-generated content. One more note on the rel attribute is that you're allowed to have multiple values set for a rel attribute. So for instance, if you want to flag something as nofollow, but you also want to indicate that it's user-generated content, You can use some markup that looks like this to communicate both of those things to Google at the same time. So if you're a company who uses any of these types of tactics like sponsored content or affiliate links on your website, be sure to review all of your code to make sure you're complying with these recommendations from Google. You wouldn't want your website to be the target of a black hat link building tactic, and Google doesn't want that either, but they need your help. I hope this has been useful, and remember to always be optimizing.